Funny enough, I don't know if you've watched New Ant-Man yet, but in the big final boss scene, there is actually just the Uncensored podcast playing. No. A detective's job is not to one-up its client, it's to find the truth. Yeah, none of us could record on Tuesday because I had big plans of laying in bed and crying until a reasonable hour.
Has a picture of the vocalist in pretty much every room in his house.
Believe that out of me and Tom, I definitely have the cooler trinkets. I have an axe that I never shut the fuck up about, just over there.
I've got a band member's stage pants, so... No! You can't say that! Seth Rogen's funny!
I think I would like to see my life lived out by Matthew McConaughey, just to hear that.
Yeah, exactly. That's how Paul Rudd stays the same age for the past 25 years. He just listens to the Uncensored podcast and it keeps him young.
Like, during the week.
Tom, shut up! Hello.
Sure, they've got a song that's basically called Let's Go to a Satanic Orgy. He speaks about music like some kind of musical Gandalf.
Hello, welcome to episode 18 of the Uncensored podcast. I'm Riley, that's Tom, and today we have a guest.
Yes, we do. We have Rhys from Smoke Over Elsewhere. How are you doing?
Not bad. How are yourselves?
Yeah, we're not too bad. Right. We're not too bad. Very busy week. Glad that it's a nice little Thursday night, closer to the weekend.
Yeah, it's been a pretty busy week for myself and us as a band, so it's getting close to the weekend.
Yeah, none of us could record on Tuesday because I had big plans of laying in bed and crying until a reasonable hour. So I guess we'll start from the top of the list, which would make sense, wouldn't it? So how did you come up with the name, or how did the band come up with the name of your band?
Oh, that is a tale from many moons ago. Back in around, about like 2015, something like that. It was me and my best friend George and bass player for another Nottingham local band, Concrete Rose. We kind of were like, oh, let's start a band. Came up with the name purely because we were trying to make it Elder Scrolls related, and Elsewhere being where the Khajiit are from, but we didn't spell it like that because we didn't want to come into any copyright issues with spellings or anything down the line. And it just kind of stuck, but we Googled it and it was the only, like, there was no results. So we were like, okay, yeah, we've coined it there, we've got it.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
But,
two nerds in the summer.
I can see it now. Like you kind of like SOE is like kind of like you just switch around the letters and it spells Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah.
I've just clocked it there.
That was one that was actually a happy accident because as you point that out, I've never noticed it. So
you never know. Now everyone knows.
That's that. Yeah, you have coined that even further down. That's brilliant.
And next time you tell this story, you will pass that off as intentional. So
yeah, cool.
How comes? Not how comes. How did you come to be Smoke Over Elsewhere? Like, how did you all start off?
Well, there's been a couple of lineup changes, but it was late on last year. The old lineup wanted to move on and do some other things, so it came to me meeting up with our drummer actually at a Darkness show. We'd met like once, twice before, but after quite a few beers and bumping into him, I was like, I need a drummer. You're my drummer, and that was pretty much where it started. And then we came across Paddy, our second guitarist, who is the ex-guitarist for Crosslight and local Nottingham band that have recently broke up, I believe. So don't quote me on that because I'm like 98% sure.
We're not quoting anyone today.
Well, he was with them for a while and then came to us, and we were bass playerless for a while, and then he introduced us to Connor, our resident bassist, and he offered to be our bassist at a time we didn't have one, and that was a plus to him joining the band. But also he had a car, so that was the second. And thanks to Connor in the little blue Peugeot, we spent the back end of last year traversing across the Peak District into Sheffield and Stockport and other places.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a summer of many tales.
Oh, it sounds like there was many tales from it.
Oh, I'll have to get into that at some point because we need the runtime. But so who is your, like, musically, what bands would you say inspire your music the most?
For me personally, I'm a bigger Cadillac 3 fan. I got massively into country over the last sort of couple of years and sort of went to where I already knew of country artists and ended up finding bands like the Cadillac 3 and artists like Luke Combs and people like that. Obviously, Blackstone Cherry, which people kind of, well, they say we sound like them in certain ways. That's actually the first way that my girlfriend described our band. And I've been a massive fan of them for many years, and it's always been, one of my friends, Lewis, describes it as Rhys rock, because it's always like, I've always had that similar kind of lyric writing where it's just, sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever it's, because it's, I find just writing music's just writing music. I've never really written songs about anything. I've just kind of gone, yeah, that's a cool line, I'll go off that. And it's just
sounds cool.
Our drummer would kill me if I didn't say Clutch, because he's a massive Clutch fan. He has a picture of the vocalist in pretty much every room in his house. And from there, it's a lot of like just rock influences. Our guitarist Paddy's a big Metallica fan, so he's got a lot of thrash influence behind him. And same with our drummer James, is where the crop tops and the bullet belts come in for him. But it's a great pool of influences from across the board from all of us, and we're all great music lovers in general. So it's great to pull from different places, and
It adds that like flair, unique to your music, which I think can definitely be heard when you're listening. Like, it's always got your inspiration, but it's always your own unique flair onto it. So that's always good.
Yeah, I've found writing like rock riffs and stuff like that's always been my home, and then taking that country influence with a bit more twang and those little extra riffs and just bits like that, kind of just touch it over into the different genres. And we all love a good chunky riff and a bit of metal influence in there as well, so
definitely. So I remember you mentioning like was it Clutch, not Clutch, Cadillac 3, you said. I'm just making me think about what is your go-to music at the moment, like at this very moment? Like, what are you into lately?
Recently I've actually been listening to a lot more like Luke Combs, Brad Paisley, Luke Bryan. I'm also doing I do contextual studies of music at uni, and I'm doing a case study on female representation in country music. So I've started listening to a lot of like more female artists, like Kate Musgraves, Maren Morris, the Highwomen, which is sort of a spoof on the Highwaymen, because, well, women just aren't represented on country radio very well. So they thought, well, we'll join together and maybe we'll get more radio plays and kind of prove a point. Long story, but I'm doing a case study, and I'm not going to get into contextual studies mode.
I've been getting into quite a few. Well, when I say getting into, I've been listening to a lot more female artists lately. Tom very much disagrees with this, but
don't say Paramore.
I'm gonna say Paramore. They released an album earlier this week, and that bangs, and I'll stand by that. And then Nova Twins are like sick.
I spotted the Brit Award, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which I didn't actually know really who they were. I'd seen the name around, but then I saw a video on think it was a YouTube advert or something, and it was like Brit Award winners, and I was like, well, that's a refreshing, like, new thing at the Brit Awards, because it's not very often that you get something quite heavy at the Brit Awards.
Yeah.
Like, we'd first like took notice of them at we saw Bring Me the Horizon a couple of years ago, and they opened for them. So that's kind of where we found them. They're good, like, regardless. So
yeah, no, I checked out the other week, and they've got some really good tunes. Actually, it wasn't something I expected to become like a massive fan of, because it's like a little out of my wheelhouse. But it was it's refreshing to hear like some new artists doing something that's not the copy paste that a lot of people are doing in the industry nowadays.
Yeah, for sure.
definitely.
So now we know that you listen to like a various variety of bands. However, do you listen to your own music, like, for just casually? God, I'm so smooth with it.
His own brand one we've got released at the moment, I did the video editing and the mixing on that. So that one I don't listen to much, because I was listening to it pretty much constantly for weeks. So at the moment, I still haven't sat down and sort of listened to it on a regular, but I do quite like to listen back to sort of the older stuff, especially, which has recently disappeared from everywhere because we're re-recording those songs. So
Yes.
But I do find that listening to some of the older stuff and then own brand and doing some mixed comparisons and things like that, and obviously being in the studio at the minute, we are listening to everything we're doing because rehearsal, and it makes it quite easy to just practice on your own rather than sitting and just playing the songs on your own.
Yeah, of course. And when you eventually do manage to re-release these songs, all the new mixes, you can find them in the brand new Uncensored Best Of playlist on Spotify, which is now linked in the description with all the best hits from all the best bands that have been on the show. I'm trying to work on my
Yes.
Yeah, no, the EP is coming along quite well, actually. So we're working with two fellow students at Confetti, and they're absolutely brilliant. One of which we're working with Jack, who's in Evil Scarecrow, if you know Evil Scarecrow, and Ali, who is a just brilliant guy, a big fan of Futurama, but he's a brilliant engineer to work with.
I mean, I'll do like a bit of Futurama.
That's okay.
Went to his house and we walked in. He's just got loads of Futurama merchandise, and we were just amazed. It was one of the best things I've ever seen.
It's like me and my my Funko Pop collection. It's ridiculous.
Mine.
Oh, I've got a couple. I've got a Sheogorath, one Batman, and a Slash that lives on top of my amp.
Riley's sitting there thinking, "Oh yeah, mine is really like mine's good."
Oh, Tom's is massive compared
mine
to
mine takes up a wall. Mine takes up like a whole wall. Like it's literally right in front of me there, and it's just the whole wall is just taken over.
Yeah,
I do occasionally see them and think, should I?
You know, I'm like that with vinyls. Because I don't have a vinyl player. I will never use them. But occasionally I'll see a vinyl like, oh, do I want to spend 30 quid on this thing that will go on a wall for a little while? I always talk myself out of it.
See, I don't have a vinyl player, but I pretty much inherited my dad's collection, and it's all original, like from the 80s and everything. I've got like the wall, pretty much all of Guns N' Roses, bar one album, I think. And My Appetite is my just pride of my collection, and that's because it's the original artwork, first edition. So it's a very, very special thing to me, and it lives actually up on the wall in the studio. So
yeah, I can imagine.
Right,
that's
place to put it.
But yeah,
I say studio. It's more of an office at the minute because we've been using the studios at Confetti, so it's become sort of merch and storage room more than anything else.
Yeah, I believe that out of me and Tom, I definitely have the cooler trinkets. I have an axe that I never shut the fuck up about, just over there. It's a 1-to-1 scale replica Leviathan axe, like authentic metal and everything. And I don't shut up about it because it's really cool.
Right.
Bill katana sat just over there.
Oh, that's sick.
I acquired years ago, and it was one of them ones where a mate was just like, "Do you want it?" I was like, yeah, but I did have to get home at about 16 with a katana wrapped in bin bags, like just kind of hoping no one was going to
Yeah,
I mean,
that would be a great background.
You're all sitting there. I mean, you're all sitting there talking about, oh, I've got replica weapons. I've got replica weapons. I've got a band member's stage pants, so
He does.
I try not to. I don't mention them often, but when I do, it makes everyone crack up.
Yeah, I tell you what, Tom. Like us three will go into combat with our respective prized possessions, and we will see what one lasts better in battle.
Mine will.
I think I'd fall for a man running at me in those pants.
That's true.
But yeah, so I'm trying to find out what else we have on here. So you were talking. Sorry, Riley. So you were talking about all like the EP coming out. When is it due out? So,
here's a question that we have in our band chat quite a lot, because we've got the final session booked in on, I think, the 1st of March to go in and do the backing vocals, and there's a single piece I need to do on one of the songs with a Telecaster that I just can't do with any other guitar. So there's, the little bits and bobs. I think we might need to touch up a little bit of extra cowbell in there, which is going to be hilarious if we do, because it's going to be our drummer on his own in a big studio room with a cowbell. So it's just going to be an insane thing. But when that's done, it's going to go into the mix and master, and then we're going to set a date and figure out what the plan is, because I think it's, so far we're thinking about doing like an EP release show or something along those lines, but it's one of them, until we get like to a point where we can definitely say, it's a bit hard to sort of definitely put a date on it or anything. We're hoping sort of before June, maybe in June, depending on how long we want to take on videos and etc. But it's we've got some very nice little plans in the works, and some of them are, well, they show our personality and sense of humor quite well, so I'm looking forward to them.
Sounds cool.
Nothing better than a band of character. So.
It's a busy couple of weeks at the minute. We've been pretty constant in the studio, and then I think it's next week or the week after we're doing like a live lounge thing through my uni, and yeah, it's getting a bit busy, and then it drops off for a couple of weeks before we do Metal to the Masses for our first heat. So it's I'm looking forward to that couple of weeks break before we do that.
Yeah, get as much relaxing done as much as you can.
Yeah, well, I do all the social media, so even when I'm not needed in the studio, I've had to be there for at least a couple of hours.
Yeah.
There's got to be someone following us around with a camera, filming everyone doing stupid things.
True.
Right, we're tethering the end of what I consider the bad questions. So what is your dream venue that you would most like to play?
Me personally, I would absolutely love to play Nottingham Rock City on the main stage. And I think it's like, that was the first venue I ever properly went to a gig in. And I still remember walking through the doors at the top of the stairs and just it being absolutely rammed. And then just, it's sort of the best venue in the hometown. So it'd be nice to actually get to play the one venue that we all love going to for shows anyway.
Yeah, of course.
And then, you've got I think I'd be stupid not to say something like Download or something, but, I think that's pretty standard as an answer goes for that question.
Yeah, Definitely. I mean, Download this year is looking amazing.
I haven't actually seen the latest drop of bands because I saw that
we're not mentioning them today.
I imagine
we'll
you've
be
got
talking about it next week. We're talking about it next week. It was today at like 4.
Yeah, I've heard some rumours about bands, but
some of those rumours are actually correct, but we won't mention them now. We'll push them off to the side today.
God, I do love me the download segments. So.
I think Download goes for like the dream venue as such because I think for me personally, like Bloodstock's, I don't know, it seems like way more achievable with Metal to the Masses, whereas Download is going to be like, I think it's Kerrang that do like the only sort of competition you can enter, and that's it's quite a tough competition. That is, from what I've seen the bands are this year for that, like it's definitely a tough competition to get into it.
Yeah, I think we've got one of those bands on in the coming week or in the coming months, I think.
Oh, very nice. Like I've seen
Which,
I think it was the first drop of bands that they did to listen to, and they are finding some really good bands.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. So watch out for in 2 weeks. Uncensored X Oliver Sykes coming to you.
Oh, we wish.
It's been belling.
We wish. But you were speaking about dream venue. What would be like your ideal collaboration with like any band, any artist, or anyone?
I think for myself, I would love to work with Brad Paisley, just because I want to know how that guy plays what he plays and gets the sound out of a guitar that he makes. And I think the only way I'm ever going to find that out is by sitting in the room with the guy. I think as a band to collaborate with an artist, it'd be really cool to collaborate with someone. Probably like I'd like to collaborate with a country artist on like vocals, so probably like Maren Morris would be quite cool. She's got quite a good like style. Luke Combs would be a great one because it's that sort of outlaw country rock, so it'd be a great, really fun atmosphere, I imagine.
Yeah,
definitely. That would be
cool.
Sick. Right. Okay, so we're in the segment that I like to say for the second half. So I'm going to start hip firing questions that are very, very quickly and loosely put together, unless I've missed a question.
Oh, I've got one more question that I can fire out after your question.
Okay, well, I'll fire this one out. What song would you pick if you had entrance music? Like you're gonna fight the big bad, you got your championship match. What song would you reckon out of your discography would fit the best as entrance music?
I would say Fireblind, which is coming up on the new EP, and I'd say it's our heaviest song. Yeah, no, it probably is our heaviest song so far anyway. And I think the intro for what it is, it really works for something like coming out of wrestling or something like that. It definitely works.
Yeah.
From what you've just explained it as, it sounds cool.
It's one that I do really enjoy it. It's got some really nice guitar parts, a bit of like I'd say our own little version of a breakdown. So it's not too chuggy. It's still got a sort of twang and a bit of country in there, but it's definitely got those sort of metal influences from the rest of the band.
Well, we'll have to keep an ear out for that then. And just a continuation of that question, just broadening it slightly. So this doesn't have to be exclusive to your band now, but what music would you pick as entrance music, or would it stay the same?
I think from my personality, I don't know why, but the first thing that popped into mind when you said it is, do you know the animated like Fox Disney Robin Hood?
Oh yeah.
Like the music that starts that film, that was the first thing that popped into my head as you said it. So I'm going to go with that.
That would inflict fear amongst any other man that would step in the ring.
Honestly, I would love to start watching wrestling and the wrestler comes out with that. I think it would just be...
Comes out in bright green tights.
Maybe not the tie.
Sounds perfect.
I don't know if I'd pull them off.
Oh no, I reckon you'd rock it. You got to get the little hat as well, though. Like you got to go full out.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, to be fair, we are from Nottingham, so it'd be a bit rude not to do a Robin Hood somewhere.
That's true.
So, the big question that I've been waiting for Riley to finish his bit off. What is your favourite performance of your own? Like, what has been like your favourite, just your favourite performance that you've done?
I think there's two. One being when we played with Tailgunner at Corporation, because that's just an awesome venue. Like, we kind of didn't. We looked it up, and the only pictures we could find was of the main room, and we were a bit like, no, that can't be it. That can't
Corporation
be...
Sheffield.
Yeah,
I'm off there. I'm off to there in a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm going there for Road Rage Festival.
Oh, nice. It's a really good venue. We were in the like smaller room, which we were quite relieved at because we had this really daunting feeling we were going to get put on like the main room, and we were like, that can't be right. Surely we were like, we knew Tailgunner are good, but we were like, are they booking this venue? Like, we didn't like think that they were as popular as they were when we first sort of got booked to play with them. And then starting to look into them, it was like, these guys are like really well put together. They're a really, really good unit of guys.
Oh, Tailgunner
They
are awesome.
Like, they've just marketed themselves perfectly. And as a band, all commendations to them, because they're still really nice guys as well. We had a right laugh with them. And
yeah, so did we. We've met. Yeah, we met two of them, haven't we?
Yeah,
Riley?
and
we had one of them on the podcast.
Yeah, I had one of them a few months back, which is pretty cool. Lovely fellas and brilliant music. So.
Patrick, their guitarist, is quite good friends with our drummer, so that was sort of how we ended up with the gig. We sort of got drunk with him and was like, we should gig together sometime. And then I sort of woke up the next day thinking, yeah, you know, never know. And then we ended up playing in Sheffield with them, so it was really cool. And we
sounds
played
like a dream come true.
It was on the support as well, and another like local band, and they're brilliant, absolutely amazing band. And it was the first time we ever saw them, and we were quite like blown away by them. They're just really good musicians, and it's sort of got a bit of a fantasy vibe to it. So it was like different and quite cool on the lineup.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, no, it does sound good. But we've got only a few minutes left of this meeting, and I've got a tangent that I want to go on. And it's a question that I've been wondering a really long time. And you seem like a decently smart geezer, so maybe you'll have an answer for me. What I was thinking, I mainly started thinking this when we began the podcast, had guests on. Why is it whenever someone's having a conversation and they finish speaking, there is a silence, but both people start speaking at the same moment almost every time? Because I genuinely think, is it something like the way we work? Is it like, we give it a certain amount of time? Because it's just such a pointless question, but I think it's quite interesting.
I think
he's just kicking off about it.
I think it might come down to, you know, everyone notices an awkward silence.
Yeah.
So after it might be that as humans we're like meant to know exactly how long an awkward silence is supposed to be or something, but it is quite an interesting question because it would come down to, I suppose, a lot of different aspects.
Yeah, like I guess it could come because there's definitely a certain time frame of which a silence becomes an awkward silence. And Tom has a question he's going to ask.
Do I? Oh, right. He does this every episode. Yeah, he just decided. I'm pretty sure, like the majority of episodes, he'll just go, you know what? You're on your own for a couple of minutes. Nightmare. So unprepared. He's all just he's a bit unprepared at most times, but
It's all right. We did
It's
a
a good.
podcast over COVID, and it was a good laugh, but it was done with like previous lineup. So going through to releasing this EP, it's been like slowly getting rid of some of the older stuff and some of the stuff we did with COVID just to kind of stay occupied. But yeah, it was a fun thing. You kind of we thought about it and was like, yeah, we'll just chat to some people, and then we were like, okay, yeah, we're actually going to have to structure this quite well.
Yeah, like we started this like July it was July last year that we started this, and it was just it felt like I honestly thought I don't think we'd get past maybe 5 or 6 episodes.
I don't think any of us
And
thought that.
we're reaching to like 18 or 9. I think it's 19.
Well, you did better.
As much as
You really did 5, so
I'm honestly well happy that we've managed to surpass 10. Like we had like a kind of big celebration that we passed 10 episodes, and we did a big special episode for it. We weren't a big special episode. It was just like we just had like a big episode. The fact that we was on double figures.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite a long thing to do. It like even just like having a chat with someone every single week and having to make sure you've got someone to talk to every week. It was a bit of a job, especially when like people dropped out like 3 days before, because over COVID, with everything changing on restrictions, we had a band that we filmed when everything was like, yeah, you can be in groups, and then it went to you're not allowed in groups the day before we were supposed to release it. We didn't want to release it because it might sort of incriminate them into looking like they've all been sat together, flaunting all restrictions, and it was a fun game.
Sounds it. But Riley, go on.
But
Go on.
this is what I'm talking about. Probably an awkward silence to do shit. But I think with the podcast, if I'm being completely, it's at a stage where there's some weeks it feels like a chore. But I think the fact that we are still recording every week, despite knowing it feels like a chore, kind of solidifies that we're actually in it, rather than just, go on, let's do a podcast this week. Like, I ain't feeling it some weeks. He ain't feeling it some weeks. But it's the fact that like we've developed that commitment that right, we've got to record this episode. Don't get me wrong, we still record once every 3 weeks, but that's not always our fault. If we can, we try and get episodes out weekly-ish.
It's
we try our best.
Like, even finding people to do the podcast when we were doing it was a bit of a challenge because you kind of go through your mates that are in bands and do stuff in the industry, and then you're like, well, we need more people.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's kind of how we approach it. We kind of have it so, like, I'll reach out to people that I know and see if they know anyone. Like, we've got a big list of bands that I still need to go through. We're currently booked up till probably like late April, early May now, which I'm so glad that I've pre-booked so like that many bands just up till like early May.
Yeah, it's definitely worth doing it. I think we had about 6 booked in total, and then the last one was the kind of awkward one where we couldn't release it. So
yeah,
it was staying at 5 episodes and slowly disappeared.
Slowly.
Which is, I think, what we expected to happen with this. Like, we'd do a few, and then, we'll take this week off. You know, we've done a few more than we thought we were going to do. Then next week,
and then
does it matter? Just never
show our faces again.
It's something you've definitely got to keep up with. But I've actually had a watch of a couple of you guys' episodes, and it's a lot more entertaining than some of the other ones that I've seen, like with just random guys on YouTube chatting to people. I've also seen some random videos of people like reacting to bands' music, and there's a lot of them that really don't hit the mark. But I actually found one the other day, and the guy actually knows what he's talking about on more than just a fan's term. It's talking about it musically, so it was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
it's true.
To be fair, I think the episodes do get better from where we started in episode 1. I think it gets better at least episode 10. because I can tell you for a fact my internet was that shit that I'm pretty sure it's like the second episode. No, it was the third episode and the fourth episode. That is where I was at my fucking worst and just like disconnecting and connecting every like 5-10 minutes. Ridiculous.
Right, we've literally got about 20 seconds this meeting, so I need to very quickly wrap it into part 2.
Cool.
And we're heading to part 2. And now we're in part 2. Seamless transition. So,
Sounds like
now this is the exciting part 2, where I
gets a lot more intense.
Questions.
It gets a lot more intense now.
It does. So I'll start with this one, and we'll work our way up the ladder here. So, if you had to choose a mascot, I'm changing it a bit. Can't be an animal. It has to be an inanimate object, and it's got to be a nice costume that will come on stage with you, like a fridge or a square. What would you have?
Ooh. A massive cowboy hat with a big mustache, big handlebar mustache.
Any eyes?
Sounds majestic.
Yeah, proper like googly eyes. So every time it jumps,
I was about to say that they just need the googly eyes just so they shake.
yeah. Either that or the ones on springs that are just going everywhere.
The ones that just go.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
What was it last week that we had? No, it was 2 weeks ago when we had the karma effect on, and they went, "Oh, we'll have a shed door," weren't it?
Oh yeah, shed
was it
door.
A shed door?
It was a shed door.
Yeah.
That was an interesting one, and you can go and listen to that episode after this one right here. That was shameless.
With your horribly shameless plugs.
Oh, you got to do what you got to do. It's a hungry world out here.
True. But right, so if you had like a biopic come out, like Bohemian Rhapsody or The Dirt, who would you want to play you? Like, if it was a biopic about Smoke Over Elsewhere, who would you want to play Rhys?
Ooh.
And if it's Seth Rogen, I'm banning you.
No, you can't say that. Seth Rogen's funny.
Like, it'd end up being a hilarious movie. But me personally, I think I would like to see my life lived out by Matthew McConaughey, just to hear that voice.
Be pretty good, to be fair.
Would there be a cameo from the official Blue Persia?
Oh yeah, of course. And because of James's absolute like beauty behind the drums, it'd have to be like someone like Jennifer Aniston, like, you know, like Hollywood beauty.
Yeah. Oh, I think that would be majestic, honestly. I don't see what could go wrong.
Sounds amazing.
Oh my God.
That, or who you know, the guy who played Spider in School of Rock.
Yeah.
Either Jennifer Aniston or that guy, because as my friend pointed out, our drummer looks like Spider.
I rewatched that film the other day. It's banging.
It is an amazing film.
It's amazing. But the thing is, I watched the musical live before I watched the film. So
how was that?
Oh my God, it was brilliant. Like, it was sick. Because all the kids are there playing the instruments, which is mental. Like, I could barely tell you what strings are what, but
yeah, that makes it a lot better. It's not just kids jumping around with a guitar in their hands.
Yeah, like, because there was one moment, I think it was like the big final song, and like me and my dad, we just looked over out of curiosity at like the band orchestra that was like up the top, and all their instruments were down. They were just like flicking through their phone. And that shows, yeah, that's authentic. What's happening right there? It's mental.
I imagine that would be quite a good musical to see. Actually,
honestly, I highly recommend. It's brilliant.
While you've just been talking about that, I've just found the actor who plays Spider, Lucas Babin. His name is.
Well, there we go.
There we go.
But I mean, look at a picture of him and then look at our drummer, and just it's weirdly similar.
I'm doing that now.
And in the meantime,
oh my God, You're right. You're right. That is amazing.
Oh, God.
That's amazing.
You'll have
Yes,
to be.
I remember. I'll keep on going back to the Karma Effect episode where they mentioned. Oh, I can't remember was it Liam, or what was his name? I think it was Liam, and they said about him looking like Jason Momoa.
Oh, yeah. I personally would have Chris Hemsworth playing myself. It needs to put on a bit of muscle. But...
We played a gig with a band. I can't remember what they were called. No, I can't think of the name off the top of my head. We got to the venue, and the first thing we all said to the singer of this band is, "You look like Thor," and he just is the image of Chris Hemsworth. It was quite weird. Sharing the stage with the Norse god.
Right. But speaking of Chris Hemsworth, very renowned actor, actors are in films. If you could have one of your songs play at a part of a film, where would you have it play?
Ooh.
That was so good.
I think Rock and Roll Woman, which was one of the ones that has mysteriously disappeared from everywhere, would be really good in sort of like an action film, because it's got a lot of like dynamic changes. It's got some really nice like just singular guitar riff bits, and I think get quite a lot of good use out of that in an action film.
Yeah.
Sounds
no,
good.
I can see
Sounds
that.
Cool.
Yeah,
like a John Wick or something like that. Couldn't be
I love the John Wick films.
I mean, I wish
Lord
of the Rings. That would just be fun.
Just have a random action song in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Big action shot down the middle, and it's just Smoke Over Elsewhere playing as the Battle of Mordor is going on.
Funny enough, I don't know if you've watched New Ant-Man yet, but in the big final boss scene, there is actually just the Uncensored podcast playing. It helps build atmosphere, and critics going mental for it.
You just hear me shouting at everyone.
Paul Rudd is a massive fan.
That's actually just what's playing in the Ant-Man helmet the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how he gets through it.
He's listening to us.
That's how he keeps calm.
Yeah, exactly. That's how Paul Rudd stays the same age for the past 25 years. He just listens to the Uncensored podcast, and it keeps him young. And that is nothing but the truth.
Sorry, Roy. I clicked onto what you said earlier about Seth Rogen.
Mm-hmm.
He's here with us.
Yeah, he is.
You can't go saying that about him. Seth Rogen is a solid part of this podcast.
He's got as much personality there as he does ever.
I ask this question to everyone, and I always decide to give my answer every time. But is there any bands that you just don't really like? That it's either I word it as, do you have a hatred towards a certain band? I've decided to say, do you not really like a certain band?
Ooh. I don't think there's any bands that I have like a massive hatred towards, because there's even sort of some of the metal bands that are like even a bit too heavy for my personal liking. There's still sort of bits where I listen and I'm like, yeah. But then I even think to the sort of like pop side of things, and I'm not ashamed to say that I could happily sit and listen to like the entirety of Dua Lipa's back catalogue all day.
Oh my God, so could I. Honestly, Dua Lipa is a guilty pleasure.
There's so much.
Riley's a big fan girl.
I do like Dua Lipa.
I have like my songs that just I can't listen to anymore, and it's mainly because of Kerrang and Scuzz when I was growing up playing the same 14 songs over and over and over. And I think the biggest controversial one that I've got is probably Tribute, and I've heard it that many times that every time it plays, it just like it almost just goes into the background of my mind because I've heard it that many times that I just don't pay attention to it. Unless I'm like 10 pints in, then I'm like belting it. But that's a different story, isn't it?
It's a completely different story. To be fair, it always goes really, really well at a gig.
Yeah.
Because there's two that I've been to and they've played tribute while getting ready. And the first time it was Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes when they did their 3 shows in Camden. It like played. I was with my friend who weren't really a rock fan, ain't really a rock fan, but he came with me just for the experience. And it started playing. Everyone just sang, and it was just like everyone was coming into being just one big family.
I think Tribute's got the same sort of level of Bohemian Rhapsody on that. Like you can play it to a crowd, and
they'll sing it.
At least a large proportion of that crowd is going to know every word to the song.
Yeah.
It's almost like Seven Nation Army, how that has just become like a crowd chant. It's that thing that music occasionally transcends what it was originally written to do and becomes something that nobody ever expected it to become.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh, Tom, is it time?
What?
Is it time?
I mean, if you want it to be time, then yes.
And it is. Please, one moment. Shit, that didn't work. Please, one moment.
Riley's already failing. He has to go and prepare for his special entrance. It's a long story that happened a couple of weeks ago, and we mentioned something that we said, "Oh, we need you to do it at the next guest episode," because we alternate between just me and Riley, and then it'll go special guest, and we'll like alternate during the week.
Tom, shut up. Hello.
Oh, I love it.
So we've had our fun, we've had our laughs, we've had our giggles on the podcast today. I believe we can all agree. But this is where it gets a bit more gruesome. Now, over the next few minutes, I'll be playing this fairly over dramatic character, as I am a drama student. But there is a very serious meaning behind this, hence, the hat and the detective kit that I business expensed onto Tom's credit card. Well, there comes a time in every podcast goer's life where the questions become quite serious, and it comes quite hard to cope with the level of which the questions are asked. But I believe everybody needs to answer a question like this once in their life. So with that said, I must ask you, Rhys, what is the best sandwich?
Ooh. Now, are we talking like a breakfast, a lunch, like a
Any
dinner
sandwich, as long as there's 2 bits of bread. That's all that matters.
I'd say you can't go wrong with a nice. It's got to be a good quality bit of ciabatta.
That's a valid choice.
Get some garlic butter on there, brie, bacon, and a bit of cranberry sauce.
Now, that answer is a very good answer. It's quite different to what we've heard before. But so you would say that is the best a sandwich can get, would you?
Yeah, you can't beat a good panini with a good bit of brie.
I'm going to have to write that down, and I will try that next time I happen to have ciabatta bread.
I was waiting for Riley to attempt to one-up that with something he's like disastrously pulled it out of his fridge.
Oh, no. A detective's job is not to one-up its client, it's to find the truth. But I can say that this is interrogation. You have came off on the good end, and case is closed. As all the cool detectives say all the time, the case is closed because they have final say over it. One moment.
So some of the stuff he comes out with is just amazing. just I never. We had this. We've had this segment since like probably episode. What would you say, Ronnie? Episode 4.
Oh no, episode 2. First, like Coral Snake came on, and we asked that question. And every week it's evolved slightly more. And I got props for this one. So
That
The props are good. They are very good props.
thank you very much.
Detective
I'll have the waistcoat next.
I'm waiting for the monocle.
You know what? Now that's done, I've thought of so many better catchphrases. But I could have had this elementary, my dear viewers, but it's too late for that now. So
It's
Tom,
way too late for it.
Your average geography teacher.
okay,
I've
fire.
got one more question, and then I think it's down to the final.
The final question.
So I thought it would just be like a nice little come down question. What is one of your like a few of your like favorite upcoming bands, like not like the big bands, like what in your opinion like quite good up and coming bands?
I'd say some of the bands that I've taken notice of that are like definitely doing the right thing. There's Dead Cozy from LA. I met them during the tour with Theory of a Dead Man a couple of years ago because I randomly won meet and greet passes. So just big bonus. And then I caught up with them at Download and have like been email pen pals with them a little bit and things like that. So they're really, really nice people and brilliant band. Massive Wagons, absolutely amazing.
We love the Massive Wagons.
They need more recognition. Baz, absolutely brilliant bloke, really nice. Really,
they've been killing it lately, though.
Oh yeah,
yes, they have.
And
we can.
They also killed the podcast that you can watch after this one right up here. So
I'm just going to double check the band name because I can't remember. But I can't remember.
Let's get the shameless.
I can't remember just one word from the band name, and it's doing my head in.
Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll.
No, they might also be victims of the podcast. So
who knows? We've had many a band on the podcast so far.
Yeah, These Wicked Rivers.
I've heard of them.
Yeah,
they've come up
really
a lot. They've come up a lot for me because I think they're playing Steelhouse this year, I believe. I think.
No, I've spotted that they're doing some really good festivals. They're playing Nottingham with Gorilla Riot and I think Cottonmouth. Quite good friends with, and it like they seem to be really, really, really getting places, and I am quite a big fan as well. I do really like them. Another band that are doing really well and definitely going up is Dirty Honey. They played Download last year. It was their first UK show, and they've either just finished or are on their UK leg of their tour. And
I think they've just finished.
I think it was Bodega in Nottingham they played, which was I didn't expect. I thought they'd be playing like Rock City, but kind of showed me that what level they're actually at in venues and stuff. So it was quite interesting to see that they weren't playing the bigger venues like I expected. So it was quite a refreshing one.
For sure. But we've had quite a few bands mention Dirty Honey now, and it's been nothing but praise. And I think it's well deserved. They're brilliant. And they're definitely coming up. So.
They've got brilliant sound, and their vocalist is just like I absolutely love his voice.
I've listened to them. In my opinion, they resemble the singer resembles like AC/DC quite a bit. In my opinion, that's what I seem to think.
It's a bit. They're sort of like Zeppelin meets AC/DC, which I quite like. It's refreshing, like on the Zeppelin basis. Considering, I mean, I love Greta Van Fleet, but I remember everyone was just like, "Oh, this is fucking Zeppelin," which they weren't. They're paying homage and taking influence from an amazing band.
Yeah, exactly.
I think have I got any more? Oh, and Chris Barris as well, someone I'm quite a big fan of, and he's really good things.
To be fair, I think he's on my list of to get on the podcast. To be honest, I want to try and get him on the podcast because Coldstake, who we first had on, they did a tour with them. I think it was only up in the north, but I think they toured with them, and they praised them very, very much.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good musician, and it was actually Download last year. I saw him and I was like, okay, yeah, this is right up my street.
How do I keep? I was at Download last year and I've missed all of these.
I'm pretty sure it was last year. Yeah, it was last year. It was. I had a meticulous list of people that I'd sort of vaguely checked out because I do what I call the 30-second to minute, before a festival.
Yeah.
So a minute of a song. If it interests me, they'll go on my list. And I hate it because then I end up seeing people that I did that to and weren't interested in that are actually brilliant. But it's an easy way for me to narrow down and kind of list off because otherwise I'm going to be running around the place like a wild animal.
Yeah.
What I tend to do, I normally tend to give a certain band a listen, like one or two songs. If they interest me, I'll say for Download, I'd made a playlist for every band that I'd wanted to see. I'd then gone through and looked at the bands that piqued interest a little bit, and then listened to a couple of songs. If they piqued my interest, they go on the playlist. Because that's how I found Massive Wagons as well.
There was one that I did want to see that I didn't get to see, and that was, I think it's Twin Temple. And
I don't think I saw them.
From what I understand, they're a satanic rockabilly band. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure they've got a song that's basically called "Let's Go to a Satanic Orgy." It's really it's quite weird, but it's really good.
Straight to the point.
Oh yeah,
it is straight to the point.
It's a bit weird, but it's really interesting that it's not, something like that. You'd expect it to be a band logo that you can hardly read and it'd be like a blood spot, but they're really rockabilly and it's quite interesting, the clash of themes.
Yeah. Riley, I think it's that time.
It is that time, Tom.
I think it is the time for the big final. What would you say it is?
Question.
The big question. Yes, I was going to give it a big, more extravagant name, but
call a spade a spade. Right. So this question has been around since episode 2, our first guest, and it's been asked every time, and we swear to ourselves that we're going to use it for something one day. But in the hopeful vein, I'm going to ask you to make a band. Now, here are the basic ground rules. There is no cap on how many people you can have in this band. You just need the key fundamentals of a guitarist, a bassist, a drummer, and a singer. They do not have to be alive. They can be dead and they'll be alive in the performance. They won't just be on the floor. So you can have anyone dead or alive. You can have anyone from any genre. They don't even need to be a musician. And they can play whatever instrument you want. You don't have to have them on their designated instrument. If you want to have, I don't know, Tommy Lee playing the bass, you can. But that won't change the fact that he cannot play the bass. And you can be in the band, but you don't have to be. I think that's everything.
Okay. I think to make it a really interesting band, I'd probably say, if I remember his name correctly, I think it's Danny Carey or something from Tool, the drummer from Tool. And I think that's his name, but again, don't quote me on that because I can't remember exactly. But he's a very, very
checking
drummer. So I think that'd be a good shout. I think.
Yeah, Danny Carey.
I was right. Brilliant. I think for guitar, I'd probably go with Probably Izzy from Guns N' Roses, good solid like rhythm guitarist. Bass, I'd have to go with Duff McKeegan. Like he's just really solid bass player. The tone is always there.
Mm.
And then I'm going to throw a spanner in here. Instead of a lead guitarist, I'm going to go with a lead bass player and pick Victor Wooten. Just getting some of that slap funk like lead bass over the top of that.
Hey.
Who was that?
I can't remember his name, but the singer from Chili Peppers on vocals. I can't remember his name.
Oh, I know who you're talking about because Rob Angelico looks like him.
Anthony Kiedis.
Yep, Anthony Kiedis.
But I think that'd be a very interesting band.
You don't want anyone playing the Rainmaker or anything? Would you say that's good?
You know what? I'm gonna throw Beethoven in there on the keys.
Oh yeah, that would probably be a decent shout.
Just chuck him in there on the keys. Just twinkle over the top.
Yeah. So Tom, can we have a confirmation of? Sorry.
It'd be an interesting lineup to watch.
Yeah, I
does sound like it.
So Tom, just double check that everything's on there.
Lead singer Anthony Kiedis or whatever the fuck I called him, because I whatever you called him, because I called him Kiedis. That's how I always know him as. Oh yeah, that Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. Danny. Well, I'm literally just writing the first name of everyone with what band they're from. So Danny from Tool, Izzy from Guns N' Roses. I'm pretty sure the lead bassist. Am I correct in saying Victor Wu?
Victor Wooten.
Wooten.
He's if you've never heard of him, check him out. He speaks about music like some kind of musical Gandalf.
I don't know where I heard Victor Wu from, but and then Beethoven on keys.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Well,
we're going to use these one day.
We are. We're definitely going to use it for the thing that's coming up
one day.
So make sure you don't miss the thing because it's going to be great.
The funny thing is, we had an extra bit of that where you'd name your band as well, but we'd never. Only one person had ever named their band, and that was Baz.
Yeah, true.
It was only Baz that named his band.
I'll name the band. It's in honor of my best friend came up with this name years ago, and he always said it'd be a drummer and 5 bass players. But I'm going to go with the lead bass player band, and it's Crackdactyl and the Popcorn Players.
The what?
Crackdactyl and the Popcorn Players. We came up with this weird character years ago, and it was a pterodactyl that was addicted to crack.
Of course.
It lived in the sewers under my house. We were creative teenagers that used to come up with some weird, like, just stories and just tales. But it was a character that came up, and randomly one day he became a bass player, and his band was the Popcorn Players. So, well,
Crackdactyl will return.
Yeah.
It sounds like that. I think it's like a Swedish metal band. Like it's a Swedish kids metal band that all dress up as dinosaurs.
Well, I mean,
can't remember what they're called. I think that's what it sounds like.
Named after the Crackdactyl, then their parents need to look into what they're doing.
Just dress up as a giant dinosaur.
I mean, it'd be a laugh, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I definitely would. But yeah, I'm out of questions. Tom, are you out of questions?
I'm fresh out of questions.
So I guess it's the part where I ask if you have any questions for us, or if there is any little notes that you want to drop in for the end.
Not that I can think of, no. Other than, I mean, if you're around Nottingham or want to travel to see us, then our next gig is the 18th of March, and it's our Metal to the Masses first heat. So come and vote for us, because that'd help us. And we might be playing Whitchurch this weekend, but there's We are, but there some news has come through, so that might change on dates. But so far, we are playing Whitchurch on Saturday.
They are likely playing Whitchurch on Saturday.
Yeah,
Most likely, about
95%.
80%.
I'm gonna say 95. There's a just potential date,
95.
but it shouldn't actually happen. But there's a the music industry is fun, isn't it?
However, by the time you're watching this, they would have possibly played at Whitchurch last Saturday. But so you can go watch that on their channel if they upload any clips of that.
Yeah, we will have some, as we usually do.
But I'm all out, I believe. Go listen to Smoke Over Elsewhere. They make some proper cracking tunes. Look out for their EP. Let's listen to more of us as well. And we're almost on Spotify. It's coming, I promise.
At some point.
Yeah, it will happen. But yeah, I think I'm all good. Just like, subscribe, and do all the other cliche things I meant to say at the end of the video. And subscribe. There'll be links in Smoke Over Elsewhere. Will be linked in the description as well. But I've been Riley. That's been Sam. That's been Rhys of Smoke Over Elsewhere. We'll see you next video. So thank you very much.